Hello, sobrinhos e sobrinhas fofurinhas da titia. Fica ligadinho que esse vídeo é in English, so you can practice your listening and improve your technique for studying. Well, today we're going to talk about how to accelerate your learning process, how to accelerate and make it more efficient so you don't waste a lot of time but know exactly what to do. So I brought you 5 tips that are going to be very useful, and you really have to think on how to start applying them just right now after you finish this video. So the very first thing I'm going to talk about is that you have to know that 20% of the vocabulary in English will cover 80% of all the vocabulary you need for communication. I mean written communication or when you're listening to something. So you don't have to learn all the words, you don't have to learn all the verbs, you just need to focus on the second tip. And my second tip is for you to learn by relevance. This is something I always repeat to my students, and I think this is very super important. A lot of students have the habit of accumulating phrasal verbs or verbal structures or lists of vocabulary that they are never gonna use in life. So this is going to be a reason for you to procrastinate speaking and practicing in the future. So the thing is, focus on what's relevant for you. And how can I do that if I don't know what exactly you mean by relevance? What I mean is that you have to learn first what you use mostly in Portuguese. So pay attention to the expressions you use every day. Pay attention to the verbs you mostly use in your communication in Portuguese. And I say that there is not a simple rule like learn only this or that, because this is very personal. Everybody has their personal vocabulary and their personal favorite list of expressions that they use a lot. And even when you move cities here in Brazil, you will see different expressions for the same thing. So what you have to do is to focus on your communication in Portuguese and know what is it that you need to learn in English first. For example, I use a lot the verb want in Portuguese. So this was a necessary verb for me to learn in the very first beginning, right? One of the things that I always tell my students is that we start teaching English by teaching verb to be, which is very common for starters when you're starting learning a new language, because verb to be is a very relevant verb. It's something that we use all the time. We're always saying ser, estar. Eu sou professora, eu tô brincando, eu tô gravando aqui pra vocês. We say that all the time in Portuguese. That's why we need to know verb to be right away as soon as we start learning English. So learning by relevance is going to accelerate your learning process so much. My third tip is that whenever you have to practice or study or learn and acquire more vocabulary or more language, you quit multitasking. What happens is that our mind is trained for multitasking in the world nowadays because of technology. So we're always with our cell phones on, so we have WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram all the time. We're paying attention to 5 or 6 different things at the same time. Sometimes it's the TV or your children come to talk to you, and your mind is used to paying attention to a lot of things at the same time, and that's multitasking. This is very favorable if you're working for a big company. This is wonderful in your working process, but for your learning process, this is not so effective. For learning, you need 100% focus. You need to be mindful. You need to be paying attention and focused on what you're doing. So whenever you're sitting down to study and practice, just turn off your cell phone. If you're practicing on your phone, just turn off the notifications, and this is going to help you a lot to focus like 100% on what you're doing. My fourth tip is that you listen and listen a little bit more, right? So what people neglect a lot when they're learning a second language is that is the listening factor. answer. It's very, very important that you receive a lot of input. Think about the way you learned Portuguese, your mother tongue. First, you listened for practically 2 years in silence, just listening and receiving input. And then later is when you started mumbling some language. This is when you started speaking after 2 years of listening, silent listening. So pay attention that your skills, they have to start by listening first. First you listen a lot, and don't give me that thing with, oh, I'm gonna listen for 15 minutes. It's not enough. If you're good at mathematics, you're gonna follow my wavelength here. Pay attention. If you listen to 15 minutes of English every day in 365 days and you're not skipping any day, you're going to listen to about 81 hours. 81 hours in a year is very, very little. The masters of language acquisition say that you need minimum 1,000 hours of input to have good listening skills. So you have to listen much, much, much more. And my fifth tip is that you practice. It doesn't help you a lot. There's no use if you just input, if you listen to a lot, if you learn a vocabulary, or if you learn biorelevance and you don't put it to practice. You need someone to practice. You can practice alone, you can practice by journaling, you can practice recording yourself on your cell phone, or you can use applications, very good applications that we have online, tutoring online too. You can use that for putting it to practice. You can spend a weekend immersion with me just for you to practice all the time. It's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, 24 hours a day, just whole 100% hands-on practice. This is also going to help you put everything that you learn into something really useful. And my sixth and last tip is that you teach somebody. Whenever you're learning something and then you teach somebody, you're going to acquire that much more. It's going to be more profound in your memory when you teach someone, because you have to really know the skill so that you can teach someone else. So I really, really hope, guys, that you have been practicing your English. I want to know how much you understand of this video, so let me know, and don't forget to give me your thumbs up. I'll see you guys next class.